Hey everyone, it's Alexander Robinson. Welcome to the channel. And this is my review for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which is the 7th film in the Mission Impossible film franchise. And I think this was supposed to be Part 1 of the 2-part finale to the Ethan Hunt character, but recently Tom Cruise said, yeah, I'll be willing to do more Mission Impossible films, and considering how crazy he is, I wouldn't put it past him to keep making these movies. Anyway, this movie once again follows Ethan Hunt, played by Tom Cruise, as he and his team are assigned to find 2 pieces of a key that controls this artificial intelligence called the Entity. And it's a race against time to not only get the key, but keep it out of the hands of a villain that we as the audience have never met before, but has had a past with Ethan Hunt. Now, I have not reviewed all the Mission Impossible films on this channel. I've only reviewed the 3 movies that have been directed by Christopher McQuarrie, 5, 6, and now 7. The first 4, I think, are really worth checking out, especially 4, but one day I hope to review those movies. In fact, I'm actually planning to review those films when Part 2 of Dead Reckoning comes out. But this whole series is one of those very rare instances where the later films are actually the better ones. And I'm not talking about this in the same sense as the Fast and the Furious, where the later films in that series got more popular, bigger, more expensive, and just overall grander. No, I'm talking about quality-wise. Mission Impossible is one of those few action franchises that actually gets better as they go along. I think that all began with Ghost Protocol, and that trend has obviously continued all the way to this film, Dead Reckoning Part 1. And I gotta say right now, this is not my favorite in the series. It's probably more mid-tier Mission Impossible, because there's a lot that I really like about this film, but there are a few elements that kept me from being as engaged as the past couple of movies. And I'm going to say this right now, it's not because of the fact that this is a Part 1 movie. My big issue with this movie was that the plot for a good half of it was really convoluted and a little difficult to follow. We don't get a full grasp on what's going on, and there are points where the movie can get a little confusing. And I'll admit that's probably more of a me issue, because sometimes I have a little trouble catching up with these spy espionage films and what's actually going on up until we get to the second half of the film. Once we got to the second half, things got a little more clear. I understood all the motivations from the characters and what was going on. So having that full understanding on what this movie's about made me enjoy it a lot more thinking back on it. I also found a lot of the stunts in this film to be kind of restrained. There's some impressive sequences, don't get me wrong, and there's obviously the big sequence where Tom Cruise rides the motorcycle off a cliff and parachutes off of it, which, knowing Tom Cruise, he actually did that in real life. And while it certainly is a holy shit moment, it doesn't match the Burj Khalifa scene from Ghost Protocol, it doesn't match the helicopter sequence in Fallout, or even the Halo jump, and it certainly doesn't meet the same level of suspense that the opening to Rogue Nation had, where Tom Cruise is literally hanging onto the side of a plane. I imagine they might be saving some of the better stunts, the more insane ones, for Part 2. And I really fear for Tom Cruise's life. I worry that he's gonna kill himself doing one of these stunts. He and the creative team are gonna come up with a stunt that's so absurd and so out there that it's gonna be the one that ultimately kills him. And of course, with Tom Cruise, he is good in the movie. Regardless of my feelings on him and Scientology, he truly shows a level of dedication to these movies that no other actor or producer has shown. I talked about this briefly with Black Adam and why Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is not at the same level when it comes to being an actor and producer the way Tom Cruise is. And that's especially clear in that rant audio that we all heard during the pandemic, where he was yelling at members of the crew who would remove their masks and put everyone's lives and careers in danger of being shut down because of the pandemic. So it's clear that his dedication to making these films as good as they can be and looking out for everyone's safety is a top priority. But as an actor, as Ethan Hunt, he's still pretty good. There's really not much to say about Ethan Hunt as a character, but the best scenes with him are usually when he's interacting with the other actors. And that's what Mission Impossible has always been about, the teamwork and the camaraderie, like with Benji and Luthor, played by Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames. Both of them work really well together, and considering that Ving Rhames has been in all of these movies since the first one, he works really well with Ethan Hunt. Then of course Rebecca Ferguson is still good from the past two films. Hayley Atwell makes a really great addition to this series as Grace. Vanessa Kirby returns from Mission Impossible Fallout and she's still good. And Pom Klementieff, who played Mantis in the Guardians of the Galaxy films, is really good as this assassin. And it's a nice change of pace to see her play this dark, silent, and kind of psychotic assassin versus the very childlike and innocent character that she played Mantis as in Guardians of the Galaxy. Henry Czerny returns as the director of the IMF and was in the first Mission Impossible film. I don't remember that movie a whole lot, so I didn't remember his character, but he's okay. He didn't really have a whole lot to do in this film. And then Esai Morales as the film's villain, Gabriel, is intimidating-ish. I mean, you get enough of a backstory between him and Ethan Hunt that he feels like a threat. But for my money, the Mission Impossible series has still not had a fantastic villain since Philip Seymour Hoffman's character in 3. But you know what? For the context of this movie, this villain is serviceable. And there are two major accomplishments with this film that I really admire. The first is that this movie runs over 2 hours and 40 minutes. And not 1 second did I feel the length. I didn't feel like the movie was dragging at all. There was always something exciting happening, or there was a joke that made me laugh, or I was invested in these characters. So I never felt the length with this film. And also, for being a part 1 movie, there is actually a conclusion. The movie doesn't just stop in the middle of something and credits roll like Fast X. It's much like with Infinity War and Empire Strikes Back, where yes, there is a cliffhanger that leads us into the next film, but there actually is a conclusion. It feels like this movie has a beginning, middle, and end that leads perfectly into the sequel. As of right now, Mission Impossible might not make it to my favorite movies of the year, but it is still a solid action movie and another great entry in the Mission Impossible series. The camaraderie between all the team members is as solid as ever, the performances are great, it's got some exciting set pieces, it never bores me, and the action is thrilling. There's a lot of practical effects and practical stunt work that is commendable, which can lead to some thrilling sequences, like the end action scene of the movie reminded me of the trailer sequence from The Lost World, except much more intense. There were points where I was really biting my nails at how intense this movie got. This is clearly the best action movie of the year. For me, it's tied with Polite Society, which is much more small scale. But in terms of the big mainstream action movies, this is hands down the best. And there you go, that's my review for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. I hope you enjoyed it. And now I want to know what you guys think about the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and now Threads. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.